1988 Citation 2. These are good jets. They got a lot of jokes about them. We always call them flotations. And the joke is they're the only jet that gets bird strikes from the rear because it goes so slow the birds will hit you in the ass. They burn a lot of fuel. But for many years, this was kind of like the big standard for corporate aviation. It was for what it was. It's not much anymore, so the prices are softer on them, and there's some quirks you got to know about them when you look at them. I'm originally from out west.
Okay.
Southern California and Vegas is where I've been doing it for a long time. I've owned a lot of these over the years.
Okay.
I'm an A&P.
Nice.
For 40 years, 12,000 plus hours as a pilot.
Okay.
And I do avionics, so I can pretty much
Awesome.
do anything. And I just came here to take a look at it a little bit for him. I just met him today, and he asked me if I would kind of do a walk around on it, which I said I'd be happy to do. I've been buying and selling planes for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
I buy stuff that's damaged, run off the runway. I can put them back together, fly them out.
Okay.
You know, I test fly it.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. So I'm going to do a walk around on this one.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
And
what do you think their number is on this? What do you think the get it done number is? Without even looking at the log. So I mean, I don't know.
We had it listed for $895.
And what do you think the get it done is?
We just dropped it $795, so we dropped $100,000 on the price.
Okay.
The owner's pretty adamant about kind of making the sale happen soon, just because his partnership that he's got going on, it's just a funky situation.
Do you think he's talking at 6 or more?
I don't know if 6 will do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll have to be a little bit more in the 7 range. But again, I think he's willing to make a deal.
All right.
So I don't want to speak for him.
All I'm doing is a first inspection. I'm just going to walk around, just do a visual on it. Normally, if it gets to the next step where we start getting into a pre-buy, I'd probably come along and be part of the pre-buy, maybe start pulling some inspection plates. Let me do it. I'm going to check the instrument cluster, check the cockpit, and I'll come out and do a walk.
Go
all right? Thanks,
I'm
dude.
in.
So we'll take a look, and you can take a look at the interior, and we can go from there. This is an older aircraft, and we call these steam gauges. See? This era would have been all steam gauges. This is going to be your GPS, your navs, your radios, your fuses. One of the reasons this plane would sell cheaper is because the avionics is older. Usually on a plane, when you start getting up in these price range, people want better avionics, and you have to spend a lot more money to upgrade them. Although this is very good, it's reliable, you got to remember what you're buying. Here's your throttles, right here. Your rudder, this right here is your landing gear, flaps, and so on. This is a good plane. They're not really that hard to fly. They're pretty forgiving overall. So we're just going to do a walk around, just taking a look at the avionics, and I don't know whether it's working or not. It probably is, probably good enough, you know. And you're not going to get any, probably not going to get any GPS because we're indoors, so you have no idea. But that would be done in a pre-buy. So this is just a walk around, and you do the pre-buy. A couple things you want to look at these is windshields, whether they're breaking your seals, which is a big problem. The interior looks like they took reasonably decent care of it. I don't know. Again, I don't know the hours on the plane, so I wouldn't be able to speak about it. But as we get to walk around a little bit, you'll see. You can take a look in the back. Now, this plane doesn't come with a potty. A lot of them do. As you can see, we call this club seating. So you got 2 people facing each other with a table on each side. You got 2 chairs in the back, and you got 1 here. So you got 2, 4, 6, seats 7 plus 2 in the front is 8, 9. The headliner to me shows a little discoloration as far as the color goes. The interior looks okay. It doesn't look fresh, but then again, this dark blue is another thing. The cabinet looks fairly decent. Again, it's a dark interior. There's a few things it needs. This right off as far as I'm concerned about how clean it is. Okay, now let's go outside. Now we're going to do a little walk around, something similar to what a pilot would do if he gets out and he does a pre-flight. Usually when you come out of the plane, you start here, and you go around the wing, around the back, and so on and so forth, all the way around the aircraft, back around the nose. This plane has about, I think, 12,000 hours on it. Yeah, about 12,000 hours on it. I think one engine's 400 and something since hot section.
Yep.
which means it's got plenty of time on a hot section. But you still got to go through the books. The other one I think had 1,100 or 1,200 hours since hot section. Hot sections are really one of the critical things on these engines because that determines your overhaul time. The hot section has so many hours before you got to take it down and essentially rebuild the engine. And I don't know what the current rebuild price on these is. A couple of years ago, it was running anywhere from about $225 to $350 per engine. So you kind of have to get an idea. So when you're looking at a plane that's maybe running $700,000 or $800,000, if you got to come up on engines, you could be dropping another $700,000 on set of engines. So you got to be very careful when you're looking at something like this to pay attention as to what you think, what the engines are. That's your big money, the engine. Now the airframe's supposed to be pretty good. That interior says about a year old. But again, whenever you buy any airplane, one of the key things is to go all through the logbooks. But we're just doing a first walk around for the buyer. And once we're done with the walk around, if the buyer decides to choose to go forward, then we would go through and review the logs. And after we go through the logs, find any discrepancies, the next step would be we'd actually do what they call a pre-buy, where this would go up we'd lift it up, we'd go pull the inspection plates off, and we'd go through everything carefully, almost as if you're going to do a full phase inspection 1 through 5, or not that much, but still you want to look on the wings, look for corrosion, make sure everything's complied with. There's called airworthiness directives or service bulletins or whatever it is. So there's a lot on a plane. I don't want to get into it too much, but that's where we start. So now I'm just going to kind of do a walk around and sort of point some things out to you. So we'll start right here. When you step out, you'll look right here. You look at plane, you got a little dent here. That's a little odd, but I mean, that's kind of normal. Yeah, you check your struts. This is your strut with your piston. This is a little low if you ask me. Look up in the landing gear well, make sure everything looks correct. There's nothing torn apart. There's no oil leaks. You can look at the brakes, make sure the rotors look good. Tires, check the tires. Obviously, there's no flat spots. Tires got good rubber on it. Landing gear feels connected. You check it and you come back out. One of the other things you do, you look at the boots. This is for de-ice. The way these work is when you're flying around and get ice on the plane, these expand, you blow air into them, and they knock the ice off the wing. And one of the things which you want to look at here is you want to make sure that they're not dried out or cracked. A lot of times you can see little patches on them. That's okay, but you got to understand that it's in a position where it'll need to be repaired. You check the wing for rivets. Make sure none of your rivets are coming loose. And one of the ways you can tell on a rivet is if you look at a rivet here, come here close. You see this? When you see a rivet start making a thing all the way around, that's a loose rivet. Those are things you got to look for too. That means that the rivet is loose and often needs to be replaced. You look here, check the boot. You can see this is painted on. The boot looks good so far all the way around. Look under the wing. Inspection plates are all there. She said they're having lights. Make sure the lights are good. They'll test that when you get into it. These are static wicks. These are called static wicks. Be careful not to break these. These are when you're flying in the ground. When you're flying, the static electricity builds up on the plane is wicked off of the wing. So you always want to make sure that these are there. Don't break them. Be careful with them. These are the flaps. What you do with the flaps is you move them. You check inside here. Come here. And you can see the bolts and connectors. You get underneath to make sure everything's connected properly. You want to feel the flap and make sure the aileron to make sure it's fine. The flap's on the inside. Let's move in a little bit further. Okay, next thing is you come on down. This is the flap. Okay, and this is what we call a speed brake. You see our holes? And what happens is when you're running down the runway, you want to slow the plane down, or you're coming down a little fast, you want to slow it down, this flips up. This is your speed brake. This is your flaps. Then you come around to the engine. Normally you would open this up. We can inspect that. You can see this marking like that. See how that little, that's a sign that this is kind of spinning around and it's opening, and that's what that is. That's a normal, but that's stuff to look out for. All right? Here, this is a thrust reverser. These clamshell, this thing, what it does, these two open up to push the thrust forward to slow down the aircraft. Here we look inside here. We're looking for loose rivets. We're looking for any damage on anything, anything bent or out of place, and we look for that. Okay, now as we come along further, we'll check the rear baggage compartment. And what you want to do is you want to look up in here. Come on back in here. You can look up here, and you can see there's the tail of the aircraft. So it's got the bulkheads out of it. Why, I don't know. He's got it plugged in for the battery. And again, basically you're looking for the seals and looking for everything tightened down. This baggage compartment's a little ratty, if you ask me. Anyway, I mean, I don't know where his bulkhead is. I don't know where he's got it, but it's not there. So anyway, here, you want to check here. Because you always want to check the serial number. This is going to give you which one was made, what year it was made. This is going to give you everything on the plane. Take a copy of the data plate to do your research. In most aircraft, this is where the data plate is located. You know, when you do the rudder, you're moving for it to be free. You want to make sure it's free and clear. What you're doing up here, which you can't really see, you want to make sure all the bolts are there, but you can't see that on this aircraft. But you want to make sure that it's free, because sometimes one of the reasons is if you're a pilot and you're going to fly it, some of them have gust locks on them, or if they're locked, and it's been known for pilots to take off on an airplane without taking the gust locks, and that could ruin your whole fucking day. Again, we continue around. Here we got a little rust or corrosion here, a little bit here. That I would address that. Probably change those screws out. Again, we look in the engine, make sure there's no damage. Again, your flaps. These are not going to. Now, normally a lot of times, if you're going to fly the plane, if I'm the pilot, I would run the flaps all the way down prior to making this inspection. Obviously, the static wick is off. He's got them taped to make sure they're put back on, you know, to make sure this gets put on before it flies, you know. Again, another screw rusted. Not bad. Paint's pretty good, though. Paint's in good shape. The boots are a big expense. You always want to check them. Check the wing, looks good. Little few chips in the paint. Now I'm going to check this landing gear. And I think this strut is rough. It's got some corrosion on it there, which is going to tear up your seal. I think this one needs service. People that's dealing with that 757 MAX, the ones having a door plug problem, this is an emergency exit, which works similar to a door plug on a 737 MAX, but it's an emergency exit. Again, it's got some corrosion on the screws. This is angle of attack meter. You feel it should be warm because it's heated, because we got the it should touch it, make sure it's heated. That's to keep it from freezing up. As you come around the front, look at the front landing strut. I already checked that earlier. Look for oil coming down or any leakage. It tells you the strut's got to be serviced. You can normally open this baggage compartment. I'm not really going to go there right now. This is the pitot tube. Should be pitot heats off. This is a lot of times when you're flying, you want to check these. Bugs can get in there and plug them. If you're flying, but you're just looking at the pitot tube. But since we're just doing a walk around, there's a secondary pitot tube, primary, secondary. And we come back, check the windshield. Okay, this is for alcohol for the windshield to keep the ice off of it. That's to keep the ice off the windshield. And we're back to the door. A lot of times you want to check the rubber. These rubbers are really important to get it to seal. So you get cabin pressure rubber all the way around the door and make sure the latches and holes are all good. These pins go in to hold the door, and you'll be able to see the places in the bulkhead around the door where the pins go in and seal, where it locks the door in place right here. See? You want to look at those and make sure, because these are all things you look at. You want to check your hinge and so on. So that's a basic walk around, and we'll give it up to that. And from here on, I want to thank you for walking around with us. And if there's more we're going to do, I'll get back to you and add it on. Thanks, everybody.